Good morning, guys. This is week 17, day 1. Exploring God's Word 5-3. So, we get in here, and today's the United Kingdom. So, we've had all these judges, and they've reigned, and they've helped people, and they keep going back and forth. While the judges were there, they'd live for God. And then the judges were gone. They'd like, we're going to go back to our own thing. We're going to do what we think's right. Forget what God thinks is right. And then finally, they got to the point. Where'd he go? There he goes. Israel started demanding a king. It says right here. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Raham and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the other nations. And they're like, hey, you know what? We don't want things God's way. We want things our way. And Samuel's like, hey, this is going to be a bad idea. What God's got set up is a good deal for you. You know, you keep on doing this, you're going to get someone, they're going to tax you, they're going to take your money, they're going to send your children off to war. And they're like, nah, we still want it, we still want it. So Samuel prayed, and God directed him to Saul down here. So Samuel directed him to Saul. Just that one, there we go. And Saul, let's see what's our scripture here. Then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, It is not because the Lord has anointed thee. Is it not because the Lord has anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance? And that's what they used to introduce him. But yeah, Paul was pretty good. He's from the tribe of Benjamin, which those guys knew how to fight. I believe that's the tribe that could use a slingshot and hit a hare. Yeah, which is pretty good. And he is head and shoulders above all the other men. He was taller than everybody else. He's bigger. He's a pretty good leader. He started off pretty humble. He kept serving God. And he'd serve God. And he tried. And he reigned for like 40 years. But after a while, Saul started letting power go to his head. Saul's like, look what I can do. Look how good I am. To the point, one time, Saul wanted to offer up sacrifices, so he called Samuel. And Samuel took too long to get there. So Saul wouldn't offer the sacrifice himself. And that's when God rejected Saul right there. And he said, you know what? Your kingdom's going to be given to another, not even your own family. Yeah, your son will not take over for you. And Saul kept on living. I mean, he even tried to get David killed. Saul turned out to be pretty bad. Mainly because he let power get to his head, which is something we got to be careful not to do. But even while Saul was alive and still king, God tells Samuel, time to find another king. So God sends Samuel over to David. And here, then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. So, David, he started off, he was a shepherd boy. He just taking care of the sheep, being good. His brothers went off to fight. He stayed home until his dad sent him to send some food. Then he goes to his brothers, sees everything, and that's when he killed Goliath. Whole army's scared, and he goes in there and says, I got God on my side. David trusted in God, and even God said that David was a man after his own heart. But even when David made a very serious sin. He had someone killed so that he could hide up his other sin of getting a girl pregnant that he wasn't married to. But David did go and apologize, and God forgave him of the sin, but the punishment was still there. And David was not allowed to build a temple, build a house for God like he wanted. Alright, that's when Samuel comes in, because David had a son named Samuel. Alright. And Solomon. David had a son named Solomon. And Solomon took over the kingdom when David actually retired before he died. That's interesting. He did not die as king. He retired. Then he died. Because he's not alive today, so he must have died. But Solomon took over. Let's see. And let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him there king over Israel. And blow ye the trumpet and say, God save King Solomon. And Solomon, he took over. And Solomon's like, man, running a country, this is hard work. And he prayed, and God says, all right, you ask, and I'll give it to you. And Solomon's like, And I was like, you know what? I need wisdom. I need godly wisdom to rule this country. And Solomon's like, and God's like, all right, Solomon, because you asked for wisdom, I'm going to give you wisdom like nobody else has ever had. But I'm also going to give you riches and power and glory, because you chose me over worldly things. And Solomon became the richest guy, the wisest guy. He had some diplomacy. Solomon basically controlled the Middle East. He had pretty good controls over everything. Even though he may not have actually reigned over them, he was involved in everything in the area. But Solomon got into marrying too many wives that weren't followers of God. And that did get his heart off. But before it went off, Solomon did build a temple for God. Big, grand temple. Took a couple years to build. Actually got named after him as Solomon's Temple. Yeah. So, but then we can learn from these guys. We shouldn't be, here we go. We shouldn't be like King Saul and let power go to our head. Or we shouldn't be like Solomon either. And let, we should ask God. We should seek God first like Solomon did. But don't get distracted by the world. Yes, I know. But be more like David. When you do something wrong, ask for forgiveness. Okay? And I will see you tomorrow, and we're going to pick back up with our planograms, which is, we get to meet Samuel in the planograms as a boy. So this will be cool. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.